Paratmanamekam jagadbijamadyam niriham nirakaram onkar vedyam yato jayate palyate yena vishvam tamisham bhaje liyate yatra vishvam Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmasvarupine Avatar varishthaye Ramakrishnaya te namaha. My sastang pranams to most revered President Maharaj, who is presently ailing in the hospital, and we miss his presence here. My devoted pranams to revered General Secretary Maharaj. My pranams to Swami Srikantanandaji Maharaj. My affectionate namaskars to Swami Vedanuraganandaji and all other senior Swamis seated here. My pranams and namaskars to all of you, and my affectionate regards to all of you, dear devotees. Today we are celebrating the 189th birth anniversary of Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna. It is a very significant moment. For the last, I think, about 130 years or so, we have been celebrating Sri Ramakrishna's birthday every year. The question is, why do we do that? What is the significance of remembering Sri Ramakrishna on his birthday? There is a very important thing to be noted here. Sri Ramakrishna is a phenomenon whose relevance is not only for India, but for the entire human race. I shall keep my point very briefly, but my main point of discussion today is going to be how Sri Ramakrishna's ideology is the only ideology. Yes, I have to say it is the only ideology. It may sound a bit fanatic and dogmatic, but there is no other way. This is the only ideology which can bring about a healthy state of affairs as far as the human society is concerned. How? Once Sri Ramakrishna, when he was at Dakshineshwar, from Dakshineshwar he is looking towards the Calcutta city and he is observing. He is seeing that the people of Calcutta, they are drowned in ignorance, worldliness, and immersed in all kinds of evil things. And looking at the people of Calcutta, he is saying to himself, how sad. I shall come again and again to save these people from this pitiable state. Again, repeat what Sri Ramakrishna said there. He said that I shall come again and again to save these people from their pathetic condition, this pitiable state. Now, people of Calcutta is just a representation of the entire world. Here, Calcutta actually represents the state of affairs in the entire world, and which is even today the fact. The world is drowned in darkness, in ignorance, in the disease of worldliness, and it is suffering. What is the way out? The question is, what is that ideology? Or what is that path? We are talking about a certain path, a marga. What is that ideology subscribing to which we can bring about a healthy state of affairs as far as the human race is concerned, as far as the human family is concerned? We are talking about the entire human family, not only of India, but the whole human race, our brothers and sisters living everywhere. How can we bring about a healthy state of affairs in this world? So ideology matters. Path matters. It is ideology which actually decides which way the human life goes. If a particular individual adopts a wrong kind of an ideology, his life goes in one direction. And this happens collectively also. If you just look into the whole world, even today, the entire human race is divided or compartmentalized into different groups, various groups which have subscribed to various ideologies. I have to further make it clear that these ideologies are non-religious, non-spiritual ideologies. To make it more clear, non-dharmic ideologies. For example, let us just see what happens when we subscribe to wrong ideologies, how the whole society goes into darkness. Take, for example, a few ideologies, I shall just talk about that. We have capitalism, communism, Marxism, socialism, Freudianism, Kantianism, and it goes. There are dozens and dozens of such ideologies which have been governing the human beings everywhere, and their lives have been going in a certain direction. Let us just see the consequence of adopting and practicing these ideologies in our day-to-day life. What happens? And in contrast, we shall come to Sri Ramakrishna's path, the path which Sri Ramakrishna has shown. I will just take two ideologies as an example and see the consequences of that. Capitalism. What do we find in capitalism? Capitalism is a way of life in which the whole concern is to amass wealth. There is wealth and everyone wants to own wealth. Everyone wants to acquire more and more wealth, even by looting others, maybe. We know the connection between capitalism and colonialism. All the colonialist empire of the Europe, they went and conquered other continents and looted their wealth. It's all basically the tendency of amassing wealth in one way or the other. The underlying force of this capitalistic enterprise is greed, unrestrained greed. And it runs on the principle of cutthroat competition. Literally, it's a beautiful tone, cutthroat competition. You just look at the world. People are running in this direction, believing in this ideology. There are whole continents subscribing to this view. We have Europe, we have America, all the Western nations which have lived according to the principles of capitalistic ideology, and we see the consequence. My question is, are the people who subscribe to this ideology, are they really happy? What is the state of affairs in those societies where people have gone in this direction? Number one. One more example I shall take. Communism. An ideology where again the matter is wealth. The question is, who will own the wealth? The capitalist says that private ownership. Communists say that community ownership or state ownership. Ownership, private or community, it is all concerning wealth and wealth and wealth and wealth. Kanchan and Kanchan and Kanchan and Kanchan. And when a whole society subscribes and literally swears by these ideologies minus spiritual principle, ideology minus religion, minus dharma, where does that society go? We have, for our example, communist countries. Once upon a time, USSR, dismantled today. Today we have China, and even there are some states in India which have subscribed to this ideology, and we have seen the consequences in which direction that state or that country goes. I'm reminded of a beautiful statement of the Upanishads. The Isha Upanishad says, Andham tamah pravishanti. When we have wrong ideology in our life, we enter into blinding darkness. Literally blinding darkness. People are drowned. This is what Sri Ramakrishna was saying during his time. People drowned in ignorance, worldliness, and living in all kinds of evil ways, driven by wrong kinds of ideologies. Now, if this is the condition, now the next question comes, what is the right ideology which can bring about a healthy state of the human society? What is that ideology which can bring about an all-comprehensive development of the human being individually as well as collectively? What is that ideology? That ideology is the ideology which is based upon dharma. Vaidika dharma, and I shall just mention, see what happens when we adopt the Vaidika dharma marga. It's a beautiful thing. Now, what is this Vaidika dharma marga? Sri Shankaracharya, Bhagwan Shankaracharya, in his masterly introduction to the Bhagavad Gita Bhashya, he tells us what is this Vaidika dharma. And in his description, he says, you see, there he paints a beautiful picture how to bring about an ideal state of a human society. What should be the ideology which should be governing human beings, and what can make human beings healthy? Shankaracharya says there, God projected this universe, this world, and after having projected this world, He created human beings and living beings. And He made these living beings follow two kinds of dharma. Dvividho hi vedokta dharma, he says beautifully. He made the human beings follow twofold Vaidika dharma. What is this twofold Vaidika dharma? He says one is pravritti lakshano dharma and the other is nivritti lakshano dharma. I shall simplify it without going into the complications of it, but it is very significant. I shall come to Sri Ramakrishna's ideology after this. Shankaracharya says this Vaidika dharma is twofold. One is pravritti lakshano dharma. That means people subscribe to outward action done with a certain state of mind. And nivritti lakshano dharma means inward meditation. Pravritti lakshana dharma means outward action, and nivritti lakshana dharma means inward meditation. This is the twofold Vaidika dharma. Outward action balanced by inward meditation. Just imagine, just see the deep psychology involved in this. When the human life is led by this ideology, when we engage with the world outside with a certain frame of mind, based upon the principles of dharma and sacrifice, based upon high principles of ethics and morality, and this has to be balanced by inward meditation, a perfect balance between external action and internal meditation. Then Shankaracharya says, this Vividho Vaidika dharma, this is the Jagatas Tithi Karanam. It is this kind of a life led by human beings where there is a perfect balance between external action and internal meditation. When we have this kind of a balance, what will happen? This is what is going to ensure stability of the human society, individually as well as collectively. So beautiful. How is the human society going to be stable if it is only engaging outwardly without any inwardness? We go into blinding darkness. This is what Vaidika Dharma teaches, that we have to have outward action balanced by inward meditation, and the result is stability of the human society. And then Shankaracharya says, this way of life is praninam sakshat abhyudaya nishreyasa karanam. This brings about abhyudaya and nishreyasa. See the vision. This brings about material prosperity as well as spiritual illumination. This is what is the ideal state of a human society, where we have material prosperity, abhyudaya, as well as spiritual illumination brought about by a life which is led in this way, a perfect balance between external action done with a certain attitude, balanced by inward meditation. Now somebody may ask this question. This is wonderful theoretically. Theoretically, it sounds very nice. Is there any demonstration or any proof of any society having practiced it and really got the results which Shankaracharya talks about here? Yes. Which country has practiced it? Our own country, India, Bharat. If we just go back 1500 years or little more back, what was the state of this country? We all know that India has been the richest country in the world from timeless past. It is only in the last 1500 years things went wrong. Before that, this Bharat, our great country, has been the richest country in the world. How did it become rich? I ask this question. It's a beautiful question to ponder over. Was it capitalism which made India the richest country in the world? Was it communism which made India the richest country in the world? What was that philosophy which made India the richest, most prosperous nation in the world? At the same time, a land which gave birth to countless numbers of spiritually illumined souls. This perfect balance between material prosperity and spiritual illumination, what was that ideology which made this possible in this land and this land alone? India didn't become prosperous by looting other continents like the West. It became prosperous by following this great, immortal, eternal, universal, scientific, Vaidika Sanatana Dharma. Again, I'm coming back to that point. What is the ideology which can bring about an ideal state of affairs as far as the human society is concerned? Now, what is the connection between Vaidika Sanatana Dharma and Sri Ramakrishna? That is the next point. When we deviated from this great Dharma, and that is the story of last 1000 years, we got into a mess. Shankaracharya says that whenever this Dharma gets overpowered by Adharma, when people begin to adopt all kinds of foreign and wrong ideologies, and the results is there for us to see. Our own country, just imagine the land of the Vedas, there Stalin and Lenin and Marx are being followed. It is so surprising, as if we don't have spiritual personalities to be followed. But that has been the case in the last few centuries and so. Now Swami Vivekananda, what did he do? And Sri Ramakrishna for that matter. Sri Ramakrishna was the very living, blazing embodiment of this great Vaidika ideology. He showed it in his life. If we read Sri Ramakrishna Kathamrita very carefully, it's a wonderful subject. In fact, we all have read Ramakrishna Kathamrita. In Kathamrita you will find, if you have read it very carefully, all Sri Ramakrishna's teachings is a perfect balance between how to act externally and balanced by inward meditation. He will talk about seva based upon Shiva Jnana. Swami Vivekananda coined his motto of this organization as Jagat Hit, balanced by Atmana Moksha. He says that India's two pillars, the foundational pillars of Indian culture and civilization is renunciation and service, outward action and inwardness. Outward action minus inwardness will completely ruin the human society. That is what we see in the Western society, which is only given to action. That action also completely driven by animal propensities, driven by greed, driven by absolutely blind greed. But that kind of an external action is the doorway to create a hell of this human society. That's why there need to be some regulation as far as how are we going to engage with this external world. And that is what Vedas teaches. Vividho hi vedokta dharma pravarti lakshano dharma nivritti lakshano dharma sakshat praninam abhyudaya nishresa karanam jagatas tithi hetuhu. So beautiful. And whenever we have deviated from this, India has got into mess. And whenever that messy situation comes, Narayana, Krishna says, so beautiful. Shankaracharya says, that very Narayana once again comes to bring back these people who have gone astray, to bring them back to the path of the dharma by showing how to live that kind of a life. Sri Ramakrishna's life is a blazing demonstration of that immortal Vaidika dharma which he has demonstrated. In his teachings you will see this perfect balance between outward action and inward meditation, all based upon the principles of spirituality and dharma. Now one more point and I shall wind up my talk. I don't want to pull it far. It's a very vast subject. Now Sri Ramakrishna's teachings and its connections to the Vedas. Again, I'm talking about an ideology. The question is, what is the path? What is the margam? It is a Vaidika margam. And what is Sri Ramakrishna's margam? It is Vaidika margam. How do we understand it? Describing Sri Krishna's Bhagavad Gita, all those who have read Bhagavad Gita, you might have noted in the Gita Dhyana shlokas, there Krishna's teaching is very beautifully described as what it is. Sarvo Panishado Gavo Dogdha Gopalanandana Partho Vatsah Sudhir Bhoktah Dugdham Gita Amritam Mahat. So beautiful. Is Krishna teaching something new? That shloka says, what did Krishna do? The incarnation, I'm talking about one of the remarkable incarnations we have in our tradition. Bhagavan Shri Krishna. What beautiful. What a life, what a teaching, immortal teachings. About his teachings, it is said that what did this great incarnation do? So that shloka says, the Vedas, the Upanishads and Vedas is a cow. And Shri Krishna, the incarnation, is the milker of the cow. Shri Krishna milks this cow of the Vedas, and that milk he gives to the entire human race. And human beings, when they drink this milk, they become nourished. Now the same thing Sri Ramakrishna has done this time. All these incarnations are all milkers of the Vedic principles. Sri Ramakrishna comes in the modern times. He also, like Sri Krishna, he milks the great principles of the Vedas and he takes that milk. He extracts that milk and gives it to us through his Ramakrishna Vachanamritam. Dugdham Ramakrishnam Vachanamritam Mahat. We can say, just like in that shloka it is said, Dugdham Gitamritam Mahat. We can say now Ramakrishna Vachanamritam is that very Dugdham which is extracted from the cow of the Vedas. Now, this is the ideology. I was talking about what is the marga. Vaidika dharma marga parata. Shankaracharya says in one of his writings, wonderful. We have to be dedicated to the marga shown by the Vedas. There is no other option. This is the only system, scientific, universal, verifiable system where there is a perfect balance between external action and inward meditation, all based upon the spiritual principles and dharma. And when human beings subscribe to this ideology, what is going to happen is every human being will become stable. Stability. Sri Shankaracharya talks about stability. Sthiti karanam. A stability comes into the human life. Human being becomes stable. individually as well as collectively. If the society has to be stable and healthy, it has to follow this twofold path shown by the Vedic Dharma of external action balanced by inward meditation. And this becomes the cause of Abhyudaya as well as Nishreyasa, material prosperity as well as spiritual illumination, Jagat Hit as well as Atmano Moksham. See the continuity of the whole thing. The Vedas, Sri Krishna, Bhagavan Shankaracharya, and Swami Vivekananda and Sri Ramakrishna, all of them adopting the same method, the same teachings of the Vedas. Unless the human beings, the human society goes back to this ideology, communism, capitalism, these isms, a dozen of them, they are not going to save the human race. All these wars which we are seeing, the wars going on, all the turbulence, why? It is because of the absence of inwardness, only outward beastly actions done by arrogant people, arrogant nations, with the intention to conquer other nations. Where is it going to take the human race? So, to wind up the whole talk, the main thing is, what is the marga? What is the ideology? That marga is this great marga shown by the Vedas, and Sri Ramakrishna and Swami Vivekananda, they have come this time to bring the entire human race which has gone astray. Again, going back to that very starting point. Sri Ramakrishna, standing on the banks of the Ganga there in Dakshineshwar, he is looking at Calcutta and is saying, I am seeing the whole people of Calcutta drowned in ignorance, drowned in worldliness, and involved in all kinds of evil things. How sad, how pitiable. I shall come again and again to save these people from their pathetic and pitiable state. Sri Ramakrishna has come for that very thing. Sri Ramakrishna's Vachanamritam is that Amritam which can save the world, because this is that very teaching of the Vedas which talk about this twofold way of life, a perfect balance between action and inward meditation. Thank you so much.